Jake here, RB Thomas. We got us a bit of a situation with a window. This centre sash, which is over by the fence. I've zoomed too far. The bottom of that's toast. And then obviously the sill along here, and initially this is the bit that we were poking, and the sill itself didn't actually look that bad when we come to look at it. We thought we could just replace the sash in the center there, but obviously we can't leave it like this. So we'll start dismantling the window. We'll pull the sill here. We'll remove that inside. We've already popped the architraves off so we can get at that. Looks like it'll come out. Our mullion here. The mullion itself doesn't look too bad. We might need to do a bit at the bottom and reattach it, but obviously at the moment there's nothing to reattach it to. We'll pull this sill up. And then we'll just see what it's like under here. And then we'll scrape all the rotten stuff out, see exactly how much needs replacing, and we'll replace, well, it will tell us. It will tell us what it wants. We'll just keep digging. So sill didn't exactly come out in one piece, but I mean, you get that with native timber. It's lovely to look at, but it's very brittle. It doesn't like coming apart. Excuse my camera work. As you can see, the rot just keeps going and going and going, so we might even end up replacing this whole sill, which it's looking like it needs. This is a quoted job, and the quote was literally to replace that piece there. So but I mean, this is on my head because I should have done some more digging when I come to look at it. So this will cost us, not the client, but we still want to do a good job, make sure everything's done right. So we'll crack on. We might need to disappear and get some material, but find something we can make a sill out of, because yeah, looks pretty toast. Here's our favourite Justin getting into it. So we've got this centerpiece on this window here to replace as well, and then over the other side we have got another complete window, because whilst we deemed, I mean, this window was closed so this wasn't visible, this here feels good. This bit, which when you close the window we wouldn't have been able to see when we come to look at it, you'd expect that to be rotten more than that, because that should have been out of the weather, but obviously this is cooked too, so it's looking like we might be replacing two sills instead of one. But I mean, the rest of all this, it needs a scrape back and a paint, but otherwise the rest of the sashes, the mullions, are all pretty good. One way you can tell, easy way to tell, get the handle of a screwdriver. I was using the blade end, but you hear how that rings. That's hard. That's not going to cause you an issue. You hear that ring? That's solid. Now listen to the difference. It's not ringing. Rings. Thuds. Rings. Thuds. If you don't have a chisel, screwdriver, anything sort of solid that's not going to do any damage. But yeah, here's a little test. But I think our easy day just turned into a big day, so we'll crack on. Bit of a view from the outside. So this is what we are up to. The rest of it actually didn't look too bad. Just a bit of paint. But yeah, can't repaint that bit. So one of the issues we have is the sill itself. I can see that. Yeah, about 50, 55, call it 55. And obviously that's on the angle. It's not square, so it's probably less than that when you tilt it. But then also when you think there's probably another 30 or 25 on the video. Yeah, probably 25 to add on to that. On that 55, so what's that, 80. And then over here it's a standard wood from the lumberyard, and obviously we want it kiln dried because we're making a window out of it. We want it treated. 45mm is your general thickness. You can get posts and that finished at 90, but and you can get some Pro-Lam, Glue-Lam stuff where they engineer it, and they do that in all sorts of different thicknesses, dry, ready to build. But normal timber's 45. So what we've got to do anyway, while I'm waffling, is we're going to glue these two bits together. We'll clamp that up. We've got some Gorilla 1 hour cure. An hour just gives you a little bit longer to work with it. Sometimes the 10-minute ones, by the time we've got a 6 meter length, and by the time you get from one end to the other, gluing it up and spreading it out, the stuff you put on at the start has already started going off before you get to the end. So we don't want that. So this way we get heaps of working time. We'll clamp it up, and then while that's gluing, while that's clamped, we'll crack on. We'll get the rest of the sill out of there, probably have some lunch, and by then it will be ready to chop into a sill. I've also got some 4x2, and what we'll do, we'll probably cut 1 meter off that length and we'll glue that together as well, because I'm thinking we're probably gonna have to make a piece of mullion to replace that. So I just have to cut a chunk out of the bottom. We've got the piece that's split off of there, so that's split cleanly, so that'll glue back on, provided the bottom's not rotten. But yeah, we'll have to investigate, and if it's a bit rotten, then what we'll do, we'll make a piece the same to match, and we'll just scarf join it in, and then that gives us something solid then that we can attach to the sill once we've made that. So that's sort of the plan. Yeah, that's what it looks like at the moment. That's what that looks like. There's Justin. Yeah, I suppose we better get into it. Just like that. That's our thickness. Too easy. I need a camera person so we can show you the process. I'll show you the glue. This stuff sticks pretty much everything to everything. I mean, obviously it doesn't, but they're just instructions, directions are on the back. It'll tell you what it does do, but there's not a lot it doesn't do, put it that way. It's not the cheapest glue, but when you're doing structural stuff, or when you need a glue that's not going to let you down, put it that way, it's worth spending the dollars on that one. Go from the edge. Go from the front, draw through the long bit, don't go through the wall. So what we're doing is, let's zoom out a bit. We're taking it out in sections because it's just easier. The sill is stuffed anyway, so you don't need to be careful about trying to get it out in one piece. Quite often it's easier to just cut it up into small pieces and then you can just split them out, do what you got to do. Obviously we've got to protect the bits that we're not throwing away. Yeah, it'll take you a week to saber saw through hardwood like that, so if you drill some holes with a decent size auger first, makes things a lot easier. Yeah, through it there. So we'll cut a section out the middle and then we can just split it out to our cuts. That way we won't stuff the mullion too much. We might still leave a bit in at the end to join it because I'm not quite sure how we'll get that in otherwise, but we'll have a look once it's out. So we've neatened up those cuts and this is just an offcut. You can zoom. So that's all tidy up in there. That gives us the profile of exactly what we're trying to make. So that's what we'll set up on the saw. What we'll do first is we will measure the piece in between where we've cut, and then we'll cut our piece that we've clamped to that measurement. We'll probably add about 1/2 meter to that, because we'll just want to scarf it in. You don't just want to butt joint stuff because then you're just relying on glue. We'll show you a scarf joint once we've got that made, but first, yeah, we've got to make it. So we'll cut it down, and that really just makes it a lot easier to maneuver it around the saw, because as you can see, 6 meter length, it's quite heavy, it gets quite fiddly, so the smaller the piece we can use, the better. Back with the thread of trying to move a giant piece of wood through a little saw. So we've cut those down because we've got 2 sills, I think, to make. So while we're making one, we'll make the other one because they'll be the same. This is about as much an offcut as we can spare, but this is kind of perfect because it's real small. It's real easy to just sit on the saw and just line it up. So we've got our first cut. That's sort of where I want the second cut, and if anything, I just want to be slightly on that side. I want the blade slightly over so you can leave just a tiny amount of material past this. If the cuts don't line up perfectly, I'd rather this bit was a little bit longer than a little bit shorter, is what I'm trying to say, because we can always plane that off afterwards. But if you can get a little offcut of the same material, you can run this through the saw and then you can check that it matches your little piece that you've saved. Yes, my saw should have a riving knife, but this blade is slightly too small for it, so when you're doing cuts that don't go all the way through the material, the riving knife just gets stuck. So just have to be aware when using the saw, and kickback is a thing. But I mean, this timber's dry, kickback's generally wet, twisted stuff. This is straight and dry, so still something that can happen, but it's less likely. And yeah, just be vigilant. It's about spot on. That's exactly what we wanted. A little bit of material left hanging over. That's our test block, and that's our workpiece. So far so good. So we've drawn it out and we're just slowly making cuts that sort of line up with what we're trying to do, and we are doing those on the big bits too, one at a time. I don't have a cameraman, so I can't really show you the time lapse unfortunately, but we'll stop start and we'll do the bits in between and show you what's going on. Making progress. Still got a couple of cuts to make, but not looking bad. finished-ish article. Still the old saw hasn't gone all the way through in places, and we finished it off with a router because the top cut is in here. It's got a bit of a round in the corner, but the little router bounces around a bit, so it's not the straightest, but I think once we chuck the belt sander over it, it'll come up alright. That one's slightly better. Got a weather groove in the bottom, so by the time it's sanded and primed, that'll be our next little clip. See what it looks like then. This is our window swap. So this is old window. It is really cooked. Really cooked. And the sill actually outside, I've not got a video of the sill outside, but yeah, you can see really cooked. So we're going to replace this whole window. Well, it's now end of day. Did not finish that one because we needed a hand. We needed a hand to get that one in. So a friend of mine came and gave us a lift. So that rotten one's out. New one is in, all shiny. We've just got a couple of trims to do up the sides and across the top, but otherwise that's the big bugger in, and that was probably the easier one really. We probably would have been well, with the sill work, it's turned into a lot more work than just replacing those centre bits, but it would be easier to replace those whole windows, but then obviously that's more expensive again, so it's, yeah, all fun and games, but we'll be back tomorrow and finish up. We're back into it this morning. As you can see, some of the sawing, it hasn't gone all the way through, but sometimes that's better than the blade going too deep, and it leaves big gouges and everything. This has been a bit of a pain to do one-handed, but the clean-up is, you can just run a nice sharp chisel along there. Shouldn't need a hammer. And then keep going along something like that, and then we can sand over the top and it'll be mint. So I'll do another video when it's clean and you can see that. All nice and clean. Just needs a bit of a sand up. She'll be sweet. And then all sanded up, something like that. There's a couple of grooves which will fill, but otherwise looks like a thing. It's overcut a little bit, so we'll put a bit of gaps or something in there, but largely overall it's pretty sharp. This one's actually come up even better. Not bad really for a old table saw. Bit of a backyard setup. We're not in a shop or anything, so if we find our original block somewhere, might be this one. That's what we were trying to make. And not bad, not bad. So I don't think, just because of how the window is, This facing here actually extends past the brickwork, around the back of the brickwork. So taking the window out will require taking the trims. Oh, the trims are already off the inside. But it'll mean wrecking all of this. It's not going to come off too easy. It was a bit of a battle on the one that we replaced yesterday. So we'll just scarf into the original, and then it preserves that joint and everything else, rather than trying to pull that window out, because at the top we've got all pelmets and bits and pieces attached to it, so there's lots and lots and lots of work. And I mean, strictly this is a repair, it's not a replacement, so we're probably quite overboard really on what's expected with a repair, but just to sort of show you the breakdown of a window. So that's our scarf marked. We're going to take the top section off of here, and where's my little stick? There's my stick. And we'll take the bottom section off of here, and then how we've lined that up is we've just got this stick, which is 25mm, so it's roughly half the thickness of the sill. Line it up on those top points at the front and at the back, and then draw a line underneath. And we've done that the same on our blocks, and just squared that line across the front. Just setting our square, and a little check, like I've not adjusted my square. That's worked, that's the same, that's lined up on all four of those set out. So and because we've marked from the top points each time, that should mean that our nice top through here should line through nice with the other one. Then we can glue that, clamp it, chuck some screws in maybe, and give it all a good sand up. It should be good to go. Window numero dos. Doesn't look very good either. Just how far does it extend, I guess, is the question. That doesn't look very good. I was hoping it wouldn't have gone beyond the mullions, at least not on both sides, but this side definitely has from yesterday. Yeah. Oh dear. I think the mullion might be alright. Those other ones are. I think the mullions are alright. It's just that sill again. Oh well, it won't be an early one. Scarf's cut. And then the pine, which is a bit softer. Excuse me. And harder to chisel, surprisingly, because it sort of just dents and grabs instead of cutting clean like the hardwood does. Little notches for the mullions. Not you, I'm talking to the general public, to our clients. Say hello, Justin. Hello. I'm just having a look at the sole, and you can see I'm just got to take a bit of a notch out the back, or at the front of the sole, just to accommodate those mullions. So we've squared those, and then that one's a bit damaged, so it looks better on this one. But if you can see, it's about 32-ish, 32 mil that we're going to take out. Let's put my square marks. I'll just write 32 on there so we know what's going on. Pull it off, cut it, should fit. Well, we've got one back together again. Didn't do a video of the middle bit going in because, well,
he forgot.
I did forget. Wow, I forget. There's two of us, we've got a lot to do. The day is getting on and I don't really have time to stand around filming shit. As interesting as I'm sure it is, but that's our join. I mean, you can sort of see it, not really. That side's come up way better. It'll be behind the window for most of it. The main thing is that we've got that sill and that new panel, that new sash that we put in the middle. And that was pre-made by the joiner. Around the other side, we've got this sill in too. That scarf joint unpainted. Mullions are in. Just got to cut, well, I say cut, we'll have to match the angle of the sill onto that, onto the bottom of the sash that we're putting in. I'll hit that end with some primer, and then those other windows can go back in, ready for painted tomorrow. And obviously we've got the sills just to chuck on here, so there's one over there, pre-cut for that side, and then we've just got to get one in on this side. It's a couple of windows. This is, that's the state of the old shit, what it was, where that sash was in the middle, so you can see it's completely heating it. And all this is 100% avoidable if you just keep up with your maintenance. And maintenance is as easy as give it a cam wash once a year, or whatever it says on the label. Actually, I don't know. Main thing's paint. I'm talking my ass about washing, but paint. As soon as you notice windows and that start to go flaky, just give them a scrape, give them a sand, chuck some paint on. So what you don't want is for it to start going like this. That's just where you've got layers and layers and layers of paint over the years where they just haven't sanded it back in between coats. But eventually that'll all crack off, let water in, trap the water in, and then shit starts going rotten. So, but yeah, this one will be good for a long time. And the last little piece, well, third to last I suppose, we've still got those bottom sashes to chuck back in. But Justin's just throwing some primer on, and then we will chuck the sashes back in. And then one restored window, good for 100 years if you keep up to date with the paint. Another restored window, good for 100 years. And our brand new window. Which we've just got some trims to throw on up the sides. Well, it needs fitting off properly too actually, because it's just bugle screwed in at the moment, but yeah, we'll tidy that up tomorrow, have a tidy up, get rid of our rubbish piles, get rid of our old destroyed window. This thing nearly completely fell apart when we took it out. There's not a lot holding that together. So yeah, bit of fun. Thought we'd make an early start this morning. Just tidy up this one with the windows. not the flashiest morning, but that's how she came up. So that's the replacement. That's I think that's their firewood pile. That's not stuff we've left. She's all nice and clean, just in tying the last of it on. Client's firewood pile. That's how our repairs come up. So that's our join. Existing cell. Joins in there somewhere, you can't even see it. Replacement sash in the middle, which was really the only bit that we had intended to replace. This window just needs a paint. That's just a bit of glue that's oozed out of the joint, and we did put a bit of bog over it. Not bog, but just a bit of filler just for the painter. And then we primed it, so that'll have a bit of a sand. And yeah, oh, painter's here now. So, and that's the other one, so all ready for a paint. Here's the man Ryan, ready to chuck some paint on, maybe. Nice frosty start to the day. Just thought I'd bring you all back and have a look at this one now. It's been painted up, just so you can see how we've gone from completely rotten, terrible condition, a couple of these windows, and fully repaired. So our join's in there. You can't even see it. You remember the state of this window before, just like a new one. I won't walk over and show you the other one because we know that one's brand new, but yeah, this one was completely rotten. Spot on. Any building work, any rot work, new houses, RB Thomas, get in touch.